My grandma frowned and asked, "Where's the car I gave you?" I stood there, stunned, while my sister set the keys on the table and said, "You weren't even using it." You know that feeling when your own family, the people you'd bleed for, are systematically draining your livelihood? I thought I knew exactly where I stood with them, until Thanksgiving, when I realized they had no idea who they were really messing with. The Uber peeled away from the curb, leaving me in the biting November cold, just as my grip slipped on the third wine crate. Crack! It slammed onto the frozen sidewalk, a sound that echoed right through my bones. Nana Rose's house glowed behind me, warm and inviting, golden rectangles against the darkening evening. But out here, the wind felt like it had a personal vendetta against me, slicing through my coat like paper. I crouched down, heart pounding, desperately checking the bottles. Thank God, none broken. Each one of those cost more than I'd paid myself in weeks. Then Nana Rose appeared in the doorway, wrapped in cream cashmere that probably cost more than my entire studio rent. "Mia, darling, why on earth are you taking a rideshare?" Her face was a mix of confusion and, is that concern? It actually punched something loose in my chest. "Where's that Volvo V60 wagon I bought you?" She frowned at the Uber's taillights disappearing down the street. "You need that trunk for your paper deliveries." She always called them paper deliveries, like I was some kid with a bicycle route, not the owner of the Allen Suite, a business that just landed a $25,000 contract. But that affectionate tone in her voice still got to me. My throat tightened. I opened my mouth, then snapped it shut. The truth was right there, bubbling up, ready to explode. But before I could even form a single word, my mother's voice floated through the open door. "Oh, Mom." Kayla needed the wagon for her sorority's big/little reveal week. There she was, appearing behind Nana Rose, wine glass in hand, catching the porch light. Chardonnay, probably her third. That effortless, practiced smile, the same one she used at church fundraisers. She has so many gift baskets to transport. Mom tilted her head at me, that perfect smile never faltering. And Mia doesn't really use it that much anyway. A cold, hard knot formed in my stomach, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the freezing November air. She was lying. The words solidified, freezing in my throat. I just stood there, on the bottom step, holding a crate of $200 wine, and that lie sat between us like something dead. Kayla didn't need the car for sorority baskets. Kayla needed the car because she wanted it. Because she asked Mom. And Mom, of course, said yes. Without even asking me. Just like always. This wasn't new. It had been 3 weeks. 3 agonizing weeks of bleeding money on rental vans and scrambling for last-minute courier services. My profit margin, the very lifeblood of my business, was shrinking before my eyes because I couldn't use my own commercial vehicle to deliver samples and proofs across the city. Just 3 days ago, I'd stood in the pouring rain outside a client's estate, waiting. Waiting while a courier was 40 minutes late. 40 minutes that cost me $50 and a completely ruined envelope sample. Afterward, I called Dad from my car, shaking so hard I could barely even hold the phone. "Just let Kayla have the car for now, Mia," he'd whispered, his voice barely audible, like Mom might hear him through the walls. "Your mom's on a tear. Don't make it harder on me." Don't make it harder on him? I was the one hauling heavy wine crates in the freezing dark because my sister wanted better speakers for her Thursday night bar crawls. And I was supposed to worry about making things harder for him? Nana Rose's hand settled on my shoulder, warm and comforting. "Come inside, sweetheart. You'll catch your death out here." I bent down, gripping the numb handles of the crate. My fingers felt like ice. The other 2 crates sat by the door, brimming with expensive wine and hostess gifts. Gifts I'd bought with money that should have gone to new portfolio samples. Money I didn't have because I was busy paying strangers for deliveries that should only cost me gas. Mom still stood there, holding the door open, that perfect smile plastered on her face. "Oh, let me help you with those," she said, but she didn't move. Not an inch. Just stood there, wine glass in hand, waiting for me to haul everything inside myself. I picked up the first crate. It felt impossibly heavy. Or maybe I was just so tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of being the easy daughter, The one who didn't make waves, who never caused problems, who always carried her own weight, and everyone else's too. Thank you for bringing such lovely wine, Mia. Mom's voice purred as I passed her in the doorway. You always think of everything. The house was thick with the scent of roasted turkey and cinnamon. Laughter and chatter drifted from the living room. The rest of the family already gathered. Kayla's laugh, bright and utterly careless, sliced through all the other sounds. I set the first crate down, went back for the second. Then the third. No one offered to help. They never did. Finally, I stepped inside, pulling the heavy door shut behind me. The blast of warmth hit my frozen face. I should have felt relief. Grateful to be surrounded by family on Thanksgiving. Instead, I just felt the crushing weight of that lie settle over everything, like fresh snow. Beautiful on the surface, but underneath? The foundation was crumbling. Mom had already vanished into the kitchen. Nana Rose watched me from the hallway, an unreadable intensity in her eyes. I forced a smile onto my face and carried the wine toward the kitchen, leaving a trail of wet footprints on the pristine hardwood floor. Dinner dragged on, slow and wounded. I pushed turkey around my plate, Kayla's empty chair across from me a mocking presence. Dad kept nervously checking his watch. Mom, meanwhile, refilled her wine glass for the fourth time. She texted, "She's running late." Mom announced to no one in particular. Traffic. Traffic? On Thanksgiving evening? Yeah, sure. I cut into my sweet potato casserole, tasting absolutely nothing. My Volvo was sitting in the driveway right now, probably still warm from whatever joyride Kayla had been on, still reeking of her coconut body spray and whatever energy drink she'd spilled this week. At 7:30, the doorbell rang. An hour and a half late. Finally. Dad pushed back from the table, relief flooding his face, like Kayla had just personally saved him. I heard her voice before I saw her, bright, utterly careless, laughing with Dad in the entryway. Oh my God, the sound system in that car is insane. I had it cranked the whole way here. My fork, halfway to my mouth, froze. She breezed into the dining room, still in her Alpha Delta Pi sweatshirt, phone in one hand, my car keys dangling from the other. She dropped them on the sideboard without even glancing at me. Sorry I'm late. Had to pick up some stuff for the reveal baskets. She slid into her chair, reaching for the mashed potatoes. Mia, you really should use that AUX cord more. The bass is incredible. I set my fork down. Slowly. Very, very carefully. Because my hands had other, much less civilized ideas. How was the drive? Nana Rose's voice cut through the sudden, thick tension, her gaze unreadable as she watched Kayla. Great. Oh, but I need to. Get that decal off the back window. It's kinda big. My stomach dropped. What decal? The words came out flat dead. Kayla waved a dismissive hand. Just our sorority letters. We all got them for the house. It's pink. It's cute. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. She'd slapped a sorority decal on the back of my commercial vehicle. The vehicle I used to meet clients. The vehicle that had my business name printed on the side doors. Kayla, Mom's voice had an edge now, a sharp, warning tone. You were supposed to take that off before coming here. I forgot. I'll do it tomorrow. Kayla spooned gravy onto her turkey, utterly unconcerned. It's not a big deal. Of course not. Nothing was ever a big deal when it wasn't her business bleeding money. Not her reputation on the line. Not her vehicle looking like it belonged to a college student instead of a professional designer. I excused myself before dessert. Only Nana Rose noticed, her gaze following me as I fled the dining room. The guest room was freezing. I pulled out my laptop, my hands shaking already, and opened it. QuickBooks loaded agonizingly slow, each second stretching like taffy. I navigated to my American Express Gold card. My business card. The one I'd added Mom to 3 years ago, just for emergencies. Just in case. I filtered the transactions by user. The list populated. My breath hitched. Sephora. $150. Coded as office supplies. From 2 weeks ago. Delta Airlines. $800. A flight to Phoenix I didn't take. From last month. Row after row of charges I didn't make. Restaurants, bars, some boutique downtown. $600 at a place called The District I'd never even heard of. Every single one coded as a business expense. Office supplies. Client entertainment. Professional development. Tax fraud. The words slammed into my head, ringing like an alarm bell. This wasn't borrowing. This wasn't even just stealing. This was corporate embezzlement, with my signature on the tax returns. If the IRS audited me, I could go to prison. Not her. Me. My name was on the business. My name was on the card. My social security number on every single form. The door creaked open without a knock. Mia? Dad's voice, soft and careful. The voice he used when he was about to ask me to swallow something sharp. Your mom wanted me to check on you. I didn't close the laptop. I let him see it. Let him see the glowing screen, the numbers adding up to thousands of dollars I hadn't spent. His face did something complicated, guilt and resignation battling for control. Mia, please. He sat on the edge of the bed, like the mattress might collapse under the invisible weight of what he was about to say. Your mom, she promised to pay it back later. She's going through a rough time right now. A rough time? That's what we were calling fraud now? Do it for me? His eyes were pleading. If you cause a scene tonight, you'll kill the mood. It's Thanksgiving. There it was. The same tired request he'd been making my entire life. Don't make waves. Don't upset Mom. Don't make it harder on me. I looked at him. Really, truly looked at him. The tired lines around his eyes. The gray in his hair that hadn't been there 5 years ago. He was 53 years old and still tiptoeing around his wife like she was a ticking bomb. Dad, my voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. She could send me to prison. Don't be dramatic. But he wouldn't meet my eyes. Just talk to her tomorrow. After everyone's gone home. Please, Mia. For me. He left without waiting for an answer. Because he already knew. I'd cave. I always did. The laptop screen blurred. I blinked hard, refusing to let the tears come. I could go downstairs. Rejoin the table, plaster on a smile, eat pumpkin pie, and pretend everything was fine. I could protect Dad from Mom's mood, protect Kayla from consequences, protect absolutely everyone, except myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia Vance's assistant, confirming Monday's proof delivery. $25,000 riding on this contract. My entire future riding on this contract. I closed the laptop, picked it up, and walked out of the guest room. The back porch was empty except for Nana Rose, standing by the railing, a thin cigarette glowing red in the darkness. I'd never seen her smoke before. I didn't know you smoked, I said. Only on holidays, she replied, though I suspected dealing with her daughter counted as a holiday in its own twisted way. She didn't look at me. When my daughter is particularly unbearable. I almost laughed, but it came out more like a raw cough. I opened the laptop, turning the screen toward her. I watched her face as she scrolled through the transactions, her expression hardening with each swipe. When she finally looked up, I was expecting her to reach for her checkbook, to fix it like she'd fixed the car, like she fixed everything. Instead, she closed the laptop with a soft, deliberate click. We have the numbers, she said, her voice quiet but firm. But we need the intent. We need to prove she knows she's stealing. She took a long, slow drag from the cigarette. We need a trap. The word trap hung between us, alive, almost buzzing. I was cold. I was raging. I was so tired of being the good daughter who got crushed under everyone else's weight. But for the first time that night, I wasn't alone. Tell me what to do, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Nana Rose smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a general who'd just found a worthy opponent in a game my mother didn't even know she was playing. First, she said, her eyes glinting, we let her think she's won. The coffee maker gurgled like it was drowning. I stood at the kitchen counter, watching the dark liquid drip, trying desperately to remember how to breathe normally. Black Friday morning light, cold and gray, slanted through the bay window, turning Nana Rose's kitchen the color of old nickels. Then, footsteps behind me. I knew that rhythm. Mom's expensive house slippers, the memory foam ones she'd bought at Nordstrom for $70 and, surprise, surprise, charged to my business Amex as office supplies. Mia, honey, you're up early. I didn't turn around. My hands gripped the counter edge so hard my knuckles turned white. Couldn't sleep. Oh, sweetie. She glided beside me, reaching for a mug. Her perfume, some cloying floral, was too strong this early, making my sinuses ache. You work too hard. You should take more time off, like your sister. My jaw clenched. Kayla didn't work at all, but I bit back the words. I always did. Mom poured her coffee, added cream. She was wearing the pale pink cashmere robe Dad had bought her for their anniversary. Spotless, of course. She hadn't spilled a single thing on herself in years because she never carried anything heavy, never hauled crates, never got her hands dirty. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. She leaned against the counter, cradling her mug like we were having a cozy, innocent mother-daughter chat. You know your cousin Madison's wedding is coming up. End of December. Up in Vermont. I knew. I'd gotten the invitation 3 months ago, back when I'd foolishly thought I'd actually have money for a hotel room. The family decided to rent this gorgeous Airbnb for the week. Right on the mountains, skiing, ski-out access. She took a sip, watching me over the rim. It's $2,000 for the deposit, and I need you to unlock your Amex limit this morning so I can book it before someone else grabs it. The coffee maker stopped its gurgling. The silence that filled the kitchen was thick. Suffocating. $2,000. My mouth opened. Mom, I can't. Her voice snapped, suddenly sharp. Or won't. The card is maxed out. The words burst out, raw and defensive. I have vendor payments due next week, and I need to keep some available credit for Mia. She set her mug down with a clatter, harder than necessary. This is family. Madison is getting married. Do you really want to be the one who ruins our accommodation plans because you're being stingy with a credit card? Stingy. The word landed like a physical slap. I'm not being stingy. I'm trying to run a business. My voice shook. God, I hated that it shook. You've already charged $800 to Delta, $600 at those bars downtown, which I told you I'd pay back. She crossed her arms, a fortress of cashmere. God, Mia, when did you become so obsessed with money? We're talking about your cousin's wedding. Then, footsteps on the stairs. Kayla appeared in the doorway, phone in hand, her hair impossibly perfect for 7 in the morning. She was wearing my old Northwestern sweatshirt, the one that had gone missing from my apartment 6 months ago. Oh, good, you're both here. Kayla walked straight to the fridge, opened it without even glancing at us. So, I made this TikTok draft last night. Want to see it? She didn't wait for an answer, just shoved her phone in my face. The video showed her in my Volvo V60 wagon, doing some ridiculous makeup transition. The caption blared, "When your sister won't let you borrow her car, but your mom knows what family is really about." Hashtag sorority life, hashtag family first, hashtag support your siblings. My chest went impossibly tight. That's not even accurate. I choked out. You've had the car for 3 weeks. It's a joke, Mia. God, Kayla rolled her eyes, impatient. But if you're gonna be weird about the Airbnb thing, I might just post it. People should know how you treat your own family. The threat hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. Public humiliation. Wrapped up in a joke that wasn't a joke at all. Extended family would see it. Cousins. Aunts. Uncles. They'd see her version first. And her version, I knew, would become the truth that mattered. Mom picked up her coffee again, her eyes narrowing. After all we sacrificed to help you start that little business? You're going to be stingy over a vacation rental? Do you know how many times we could have said no when you needed money? My throat completely closed. The kitchen felt like it was shrinking, the walls pressing in. This was it. This was the moment I usually folded. The moment I'd apologize, unlock the credit limit, make myself smaller so everyone else could breathe easier. But something stopped me. Nana Rose's voice from last night echoed in my head, clear as a bell. We need to prove she knows she's stealing. We need a trap. This was the trap. Right here. Mom cornering me. Kayla dangling social media over my head like a knife. They were showing me exactly what they thought of my boundaries, my business, my very worth. I didn't need their approval. I needed their admission. My hands unclenched from the counter, fingers finally relaxing. I straightened up, meeting Mom's expectant eyes. She was waiting for the apology, the capitulation. I could see it in the smug set of her mouth, the way she was already relaxing into victory. I need to think about it, I said. Mom blinked. What? I said I need to think about it. My voice came out steadier this time, firm. It's a big purchase. I need to check my cash flow projections. Kayla snorted, a sharp, mean sound. Cash flow projections? It's $2,000, Mia. Not a down payment on a house. For my business, I said, holding her gaze, it's a significant amount. I turned toward the doorway. I'll let you know by tonight. I didn't run. I walked. Slow, measured steps past Kayla, past the breakfast nook where Dad would appear in 20 minutes, pretending he hadn't heard this entire conversation through the ceiling. Behind me, Mom's voice, sharp and furious. Mia Allen, don't you dare walk away from me when I'm talking to you. I kept walking. Up the stairs, down the hall, into the guest room where my laptop still sat open on the bed, my QuickBooks spreadsheet glowing in the cold, gray morning light. The door clicked shut with a satisfying finality. My hands were shaking again, but it was a different kind of tremor. Not fear. Not quite. I sat on the bed, pulling the laptop onto my knees. Through the window, I could see Nana Rose in the garden below, bundled in her wool coat, cigarette smoke curling into the cold air. She turned, looked up at my window. Our eyes met. She gave the barest, almost imperceptible nod. I exhaled. A long, slow, cleansing breath. They thought I was weak. They thought I need to think about it meant I was wavering, that they'd almost won, that a few more pushes would crack me completely. They didn't know. I wasn't retreating. I was positioning. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom, we need an answer by noon. The Airbnb won't wait. I didn't respond. I just set the phone face down on the nightstand and opened a new document on my laptop. The morning light grew stronger, a little less gray. Somewhere downstairs, Kayla's laugh rang out. Dad's voice joined the conversation, probably smoothing things over, probably telling Mom to give me space, probably, in his own way, making everything worse by making it easier. But up here, in this room, I was writing down exactly what was said. Word for word. Time-stamped. Documented. They wanted me to think about it? Oh, I was thinking about it. Just not the way they expected. I waited an hour. Long enough for them to think I'd retreated to sulk in the guest room, just like I always did. Long enough for Mom to refill her wine glass and settle into that smug, self-satisfied glow she got when she thought she'd won. My hands shook as I stood at the guest room mirror, but it wasn't from fear. It was from the sheer effort of keeping everything locked down when all I wanted to do was scream. The reflection staring back at me was exhausted. Defeated. Perfect. I practiced the slump in my shoulders one more time. The way my voice should crack, just slightly, like I was trying desperately not to cry. Nana Rose's words from this afternoon played in my head. We need her to confess in writing. We need her to believe she's untouchable. The hallway was quiet when I stepped out. I could hear them in the living room, Kayla's laugh, Mom's voice, lower now, probably complaining about me to Dad. The usual, draining soundtrack of my life. I paused at the top of the stairs. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, already set to automatically save screenshots. Everything had to look natural. Submissive. Exactly like the Mia they expected. When I walked into the living room, I made sure my footsteps were soft. Apologetic. Mom looked up from the couch where she sat with Kayla. Dad was in his recliner, newspaper open, but clearly not reading. They all turned to me, their faces a mixture of wary alertness. Waiting to see which Mia I'd be. The difficult one or the doormat. I gave them the doormat. Mom? My voice came out exactly right. Tired. A little shaky. I'm sorry. Kayla's eyebrows shot up. Mom set down her wine glass, slowly, carefully, as if afraid any sudden movement might spook me back into resistance. I've been really stressed about work, I continued, looking at the carpet instead of her. This van contract has me all twisted up. You're right. I'm being ridiculous about the Airbnb. The silence stretched just long enough, then Mom's face softened into that smile. The one that used to make me feel so warm and safe when I was little. Now it just made my stomach clench. Oh, sweetheart, she stood, crossing to me. Her hand on my arm felt like a brand searing. I know how hard you've been working. We all do. Dad folded his newspaper, relief washing over his features. Crisis averted. Peace maintained. His entire world, back in balance. I'll authorize the charge, I said, each word costing me something. Not because I meant them, but because I knew what came next, and it made my stomach churn. Good. $2,000 for the Airbnb, Mom said, releasing me. She was already reaching for her phone, probably to book it before I changed my mind. I'll send you the confirmation. I nodded, forcing my shoulders to stay slumped. Okay. See? Dad's voice had that proud, knowing edge now. I knew you'd be reasonable, Mia. Family takes care of each other. Family takes care of each other. The words sat in my mouth like ash. Mom settled back onto the couch, her whole body language shifting. Relaxed. Confident. She'd already won, so what was one more little ask? Actually, since you're being so understanding. She glanced at Kayla, then back at me. Kayla also needs $1,500 for her spring sorority dues. They're due by Monday or she gets a late fee. My heart stopped cold. Then started again, thundering faster. This was it. The moment Nana Rose predicted. The overreach. Kayla nodded eagerly, leaning forward. It's not my fault. They sent the email like 2 weeks ago, but I've been so busy with exams I forgot to mention it. Too busy to mention $1,500. Too busy driving my car to bars and ruining my portfolio samples. I made myself wait. Counted to 3. Let the silence build just enough for them to think I might push back. Okay, the word came out small, defeated. I can do that. Mom's smile widened. She thought she had me now. Thought I'd crumbled completely. But then I hesitated, just slightly, like I was afraid to even bring it up. My accountant has been really on my back about audits lately. Could you just text me exactly what that $1,500 is for? I need to code it as training expenses or something, so I don't get in trouble with the IRS. It was brilliant because it sounded so reasonable. So careful. Like I was trying to protect myself from the accountant, not from them. Mom didn't even pause. Of course, honey. That's very responsible of you. She pulled out her phone immediately. No hesitation. No suspicion. Just that absolute, unquestioning confidence that she was entitled to my money. That this was simply how things worked. My phone buzzed in my pocket 30 seconds later. I pulled it out. My hands were perfectly steady now. The text filled the screen. Stop worrying. Yes, take the $1,500 for Kayla's sorority dues. It's family money anyway. Just send it. Family money anyway. There it was. Black and white. Her own words. Admitting she didn't think of my business account as mine at all. Just family money. Just something she was entitled to spend. I read it twice. The screenshot had already saved automatically to 3 different folders. Got it, I said softly. I looked up at Mom, forcing my face into something like relief. Thank you for understanding about the coding. Of course, she waved a dismissive hand. We don't want you getting audited. That would be a nightmare. The irony would have been hilarious if it didn't make me want to scream. I pulled up the American Express app while they watched. Processed the charge right there, in front of them. $1,500 for Kayla's sorority dues. Coded as miscellaneous business expense. Done, I told Kayla. It'll post in a few minutes. She actually squealed, then jumped up and hugged me, her cloying perfume overwhelming. Thank you. Thank you. You're the best sister ever. The best sister ever. The one she treated like an ATM machine. Well, I'm glad that's all settled, Dad said, standing and stretching. Who wants pie? Just like that. Crisis resolved. Family harmony restored. They moved toward the kitchen like nothing had happened, like they hadn't just handed me enough evidence to utterly destroy them. Mom paused at the doorway, looking back at me. Coming, sweetie? In a minute, I gestured to my phone. Need to email my accountant real quick. Let him know I coded the expenses. Always so responsible. She smiled one last time, then disappeared into the kitchen with the others. I stood alone in the living room, my phone gripped so tight my knuckles were white. The text message stared up at me. It's family money anyway. Not anymore. Later, in the guest room, door locked tight, I opened my laptop. My hands didn't shake now. They were perfectly, unnervingly steady as I forwarded the screenshot to Nana Rose. Her reply came back in less than a minute. Perfect. Monday morning. My attorney's office. I read it 3 times. Then I looked at the text from Mom, still open on my phone. That casual, arrogant admission. That absolute certainty that she was untouchable. For the first time in 3 weeks, I smiled. Not the fake, exhausted mask I'd been wearing. A real one. They thought they broke me. They thought I surrendered. They had no idea what was actually coming Monday morning. I opened a draft reply to Mom. Thank you for being so understanding about everything. I really appreciate you. My finger hovered over the send button. Then I deleted it. Every single word. She didn't deserve my gratitude. Not even fake gratitude. I closed the laptop, lay back on the bed, phone dark beside me. Downstairs, I could still hear their voices. Laughing. Celebrating. Already spending money that wasn't theirs. Let them celebrate. Let them think they won. Monday was only 3 days away. The call came at 9:30 Monday morning while I was reviewing proof sheets for an anniversary dinner client. Mom's name flashed on my screen. For half a second, I considered letting it go to voicemail. But that would tip my hand too early. Mia? Her voice had that familiar, sharp edge. Irritation barely contained by forced patience. My card was declined at Whole Foods. I'm standing here with a full cart, and the cashier is staring at me like I'm some kind of deadbeat. I set down my loop, keeping my voice utterly neutral. Meet me at the studio. What? Mia, just fix whatever mistake you made with the account. I have groceries that need to be refrigerated. The studio. 1 hour. I hung up before she could even argue. My hands were steady as I pulled up the contact for Nana Rose's attorney. He answered on the second ring, and I could practically hear the smile in his voice when I told him, it's time. 50 minutes later, I watched through the studio's front window as Mom's sleek Mercedes pulled into the lot. Right behind her, my Volvo V60 bumped over the curb, parking crookedly next to the Mercedes. Kayla was at the wheel. Of course she was. They hunted in pairs, and apparently, she couldn't even be bothered to ride with Mom when there was my gas tank to burn. The conference room looked different today, more formal, almost imposing. Nana Rose sat at the head of the table, regal in a steel gray suit that probably cost more than Kayla's entire wardrobe. The attorney, Marcus Barrett, had his briefcase open beside him, documents already arranged in neat, intimidating stacks. I took the chair at Nana Rose's right hand. My pulse was hammering, a frantic rhythm, but my face felt cold, distant, like I was watching someone else's life unfold from a great distance. Mom's heels clicked sharp against the tile floor. The studio door burst open, and she strode in, Kayla trailing behind, phone still out. They both stopped dead when they saw the setup. What is this? Mom's eyes darted frantically from Nana Rose to the attorney to me. Mia, I don't have time for one of your dramatic little productions. Just fix the card. Sit down, Brenda. Nana Rose's voice was arctic, capable of freezing water. Something in her tone made Mom obey. She lowered herself into the chair across from me, movement stiff, almost robotic. Kayla sat too, finally looking up from her phone, a flicker of apprehension in her eyes. I slid the printed packet across the polished wood. It landed in front of Mom with a soft, ominous thump. A QuickBooks fraud report. Every single unauthorized transaction highlighted in angry yellow. 15 pages of pure theft. Coded and meticulously categorized. What? What am I looking at? Mom's fingers hovered over the pages like they might bite her. Evidence. I pulled out my phone, tapped twice, and a screenshot instantly filled the conference room's wall-mounted screen. Her text message from Thanksgiving weekend, blown up so huge every single word looked like a screaming accusation. Stop worrying. Yes, take the $1,500 for Kayla's sorority dues. It's family money anyway. Just send it. Kayla's face went bone white. Mom stared at the screen, and I watched her brain work, frantic, desperate, trying to find some angle that made this okay. That's taken out of context. Her voice had lost its edge, now just uncertain, a little scared. We were having a family conversation. There's no context that makes embezzlement legal. Marcus's tone was professionally pleasant, which somehow made it even more chilling. He opened a folder, pulling out another document. Mrs. Allen, as an authorized user on your daughter's business credit card, you had permission to make purchases for company expenses only. This report shows over $8,000 in personal charges over the last 6 months. Personal. Mom's laugh was brittle, a harsh, breaking sound. Mia, tell him. We're family. We share resources. That's what families do. The Sephora charge, Marcus didn't even look up from his notes, his voice flat. $150. Coded as office supplies. What office supplies did you purchase at Sephora, Mrs. Allen? Silence. Heavy. Crushing. The Delta Airlines flight to Phoenix. $800. What business purpose did that serve? Mom's jaw tightened. I needed to visit my college roommate. She was going through a difficult time. And the $600 at various downtown bars? Marcus slid another page across the table. Charges made by your younger daughter. Those were categorized as client entertainment, but we have time-stamped Instagram stories and TikToks uploaded by Miss Kayla Allen at those exact times. She even tagged the locations herself while your older daughter was at home, working on the Vance contract. Kayla made a small, choked noise. I didn't look at her. This is ridiculous. Mom's voice rose, a desperate, frantic sound. Mia, you're going to let them talk to me like this? After everything we've done for you? We helped you start that little business. You mean the business you've been systematically robbing? The words came out colder than I intended, sharp as ice. The business that could land me in federal prison because you claimed personal expenses as tax deductions? Her face went slack. She hadn't thought about that part. Of course she hadn't. The IRS takes a very dim view of fraudulent business deductions. Marcus's voice remained level, almost soothing, which only amplified the horror. If they audit Miss Allen's books and find these discrepancies, she could face charges. But you, Mrs. Allen, would face something much worse. He paused, letting that sink in. Your text message constitutes written admission of intent. You acknowledged the money belonged to your daughter's business and took it anyway. That's not borrowing. That's embezzlement. A federal crime. Mom's mouth opened, then slowly closed. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time since she'd stormed in. I saw her searching for the daughter who always fixed things, who always smoothed over problems, who carried wine crates alone in the freezing cold rather than make a scene. That daughter was gone. This is absurd. But her voice wavered, thin and fragile. Mia, tell them. Tell them I was going to pay it back. Were you? I kept my eyes locked on hers, unblinking. When? With what money? Nana Rose cleared her throat. That brings us to the second matter. She nodded at Marcus, who produced another document. Brenda, I've activated the generation-skipping trust your father established before he passed. Mom's face went from white to an ashen gray. What? For $0.2 million, currently held in trust, Nana Rose continued, completely calm. It was set to distribute to you upon my death. I've amended the terms. The funds now bypass you entirely and flow directly into a protected trust for Mia. The room plunged into absolute silence, broken only by Kayla's ragged, terrified breathing. You can't do that. Mom's voice cracked, thin and desperate. That money is mine. No, Brenda. It was never yours. It was my husband's, placed in my care to distribute as I see fit. Nana Rose leaned forward, her gaze piercing. You used money to control your daughter. So I'm using money to free her. Mom looked at me again. This time I saw it. Pure, unadulterated panic. Her entire future, the inheritance she'd been counting on to maintain the lifestyle Dad's meager salary could barely support, was gone. Just like that. My phone buzzed against the table. Dad's name flashed on the screen. Then again. And again. Fix this, Mia. Think of the family. Your mother is crying. How can you do this to her? Please. She made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I silenced the phone without even reading the rest. I'm not your bank anymore. The words came out steady. Clear. Powerful. I'm the CEO. Get out of my office. Mom stood slowly, like her bones had suddenly turned to glass. Kayla scrambled up beside her, mascara streaking down her face. She reached for her purse, and I saw the Volvo keys on the table where she'd casually dropped them. I picked them up. The metal felt cold, but solid, in my palm. These stay with me. I pulled the American Express card from my wallet. Marcus handed me a pair of sharp scissors. The plastic resisted for a moment, then split with a satisfying snap. I dropped both pieces onto the table between us. Marcus slid a final document across. You're removed as an authorized user, effective immediately. If you attempt to contact Miss Allen about financial matters, we have a restraining order prepared for filing. Mom's face crumpled, but this time there was no manipulation, no performance. Just raw, devastating defeat. She turned and walked out, Kayla stumbling blindly after her. The door clicked shut. The sound of Mom's Mercedes starting and driving away faded into a profound, peaceful silence. Nana Rose's hand settled on my shoulder, warm and solid, a comfort. You did the right thing. Your grandfather would be proud. I exhaled, for what felt like the first truly free breath in weeks. The tight knot in my chest loosened, just a little. Through the window, I could see clear sky. And my Volvo sitting proudly in the lot. Mine again. The studio was quiet now, in a way I'd always imagined peace should sound. No phones ringing with demands disguised as emergencies. No anxious footsteps approaching my desk with new requests tied to old guilt. Just the soft rustle of tissue paper as I folded the last of the Vance invitation suites into their luxurious cream boxes. It had been 3 weeks since that Monday morning in the conference room. 3 weeks since I sliced that Amex card in half and watched my mother walk out, stripped of the power she'd always held over me. The Vance invitations were perfect. Hand-painted watercolor washes in sage and ivory. Calligraphy that had taken me 2 days to get exactly right. Olivia Vance, the senator's daughter, had called yesterday, her voice bright with the kind of excitement that made this work worth every single hour. She wasn't one to throw around compliments, but she'd said her mother actually cried when she saw the final proofs. $25,000. Paid in full. Straight into my account, not bleeding out through unauthorized charges to Sephora or Delta Airlines. I taped the last box closed and carried the stack toward the door. My arms were strong now, I didn't need to make 2 trips. Strong enough that I didn't need to ask anyone for help. The parking lot was empty, except for my Volvo V60. It gleamed under the afternoon sun, the rear windshield clear and unmarked. It had taken me an hour with a razor blade and rubbing alcohol to scour off that obnoxious pink sorority decal. The glass was so clean now I could see straight through to the back seat, where my actual portfolio samples sat protected in their sleek leather case. No sticky Red Bull residue. No evidence that anyone had ever treated this vehicle like their personal property. I loaded the boxes into the trunk. The space was organized exactly how I needed it, client samples on the left, shipping supplies on the right, my emergency kit tucked in the back corner. This was my car, my business, my carefully built life. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, saw Kayla's name on the screen. A text message, probably another request for money disguised as a sister asking a favor. The old Mia would have opened it immediately. Would have read every word, analyzing the request, calculating if I could afford it, wondering if refusing would make me the villain in some new family story I wasn't even a part of anymore. The new Mia swiped left. Deleted the entire thread. Without reading a single word. No guilt. No second guessing. Just gone. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and took a deep, full breath. The air was cold enough to see my breath, but it didn't bite the way it had that Thanksgiving night, standing on Nana Rose's porch, carrying wine crates nobody offered to help with. Tonight, I was having dinner with Nana Rose again. We did that now every Wednesday. She'd told me last week that watching me walk into that conference room, armed with evidence instead of apologies, was the proudest she'd ever been of anyone. She'd given me a gift at our last dinner, a framed copy of the first dollar bill the Allen suite had ever earned. From your labor, she'd said. Not theirs. You built this. They tried to take it. You kept it. The drive home was a short 15 minutes. I kept the windows cracked despite the cold, letting the crisp winter air fill the car. There was a young woman I'd met last week at a networking event. She'd said she wanted to start her own calligraphy business, but her family kept asking to be involved. Kept suggesting they could help manage the money, handle the books, just until she got established. I'd given her the only advice that mattered. Keep your business legally separate from day one. Love doesn't require access to your accounts. She'd written it down in her phone like I'd just shared sacred wisdom. Maybe I had. The light ahead turned red. I stopped, resting my hands on the steering wheel, feeling the worn leather under my palms. This car had carried hundreds of pounds of paper, countless client samples, the whole weight of my business on its wheels. And it was still mine. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call. Robert's name filled the screen. Dad. I watched his name flash once. Twice. Then I pressed the side button and sent it straight to voicemail. Didn't even glance at the notification when it appeared 30 seconds later. The light turned green. I pressed the accelerator and drove forward. Windows still down. Cold air still rushing in. The smile on my face wasn't the polite, people-pleasing mask I'd worn for 24 years. It was something real. Something I'd earned. Something nobody, absolutely nobody, could ever take away.